Hi, Chris Duff over at Serious Land Capital, vacant land funding partner. So I was relaying this over to my business partner when we were meeting about a month ago. And I don't think I've shared this story publicly on what spurred the origin of the name Serious Land Capital. So it really came from Succession. And as soon as I mentioned that, anybody who's watched the show is like instantly it's clicking for them. But yeah, especially since it's been just about 2 years since Succession final season aired, and a bit over 2 years since we converted over our business to the funding business, SLC. This felt like it's pretty opportune time to share this story. And I know the showrunner for Succession, Jesse Armstrong, has a new movie coming out this weekend here, so it's just kind of a reminder, and the fact that I haven't shared this before. And for those of you who have never watched Succession, or maybe watched it a while ago, it again hasn't been on for a couple of years. Everybody's attention span is short, so I can get you up to speed here. And so it was largely considered to be a satire about the Rupert Murdoch family, just media tycoon business. Very powerful billionaire, Logan Roy, who had built up this media empire, and he has all his kids kind of vying for control of the media company, expecting their father, Logan, to be exiting as he gets older. And there's just a bunch of shenanigans that ensue over the various seasons. I mean, one of my favorite shows, very highly regarded, really snappy and punchy humor and commentary, depending on what you might prefer. And my wife always thought it was far too vulgar for for her taste anyway, but I found it extremely funny. And one of the core phrases that the patriarch Logan Roy would often use is just, he only wanted to deal with serious people. And, he came from, no trust funds or any birthright money. So he pulled himself up by his bootstraps, built this, multi-billion-dollar business. And now his rich kids are just not nearly as talented or focused as he was. And so it's like, hey, you guys are just, you're not serious. And that's just like a constant through line of the entire show, is how much the kids just, mess things up through this period of possible succession, and the backstabbing that happens therein. And so that this phrasing just happens, constantly throughout the show, with just Logan admonishing either his kids or, other people around him, like, you guys, you're not serious figures. You're not serious people. He only wants to deal with serious people. Even though there was a lot of like humor and hilarity behind this, and ultimately, again, it was like a satire about the evils and dark side of capitalism, and just too much focus on money, which can all be understood, certainly. But I still felt like some of those undertones were just really powerful from a business owner perspective. And obviously, it's a fictional universe. But, when I was kind of spinning up this idea for the funding business, and I just loving the phrasing of those, the serious people, serious figures. I just really wanted to build a business where it's like, okay, we are those serious people in the room. Like, we're not the jokes that don't understand how to actually succeed and underwrite deals, and we have the wherewithal to stick through the hard times. People know that we are serious figures that can be trusted. I really loved that sentiment overall, and wanted to build a brand around it, even though the fictional character Logan Roy is such a curmudgeon in kind of the best of terms, a huge jerk and largely terrible person, including to his own kids. I like, if I was in that universe, like, I would still want to be considered a serious person by Logan Roy. Like, I think any business person worth their salt would kind of feel that inkling as well. If you've watched the show, you probably understand that a bit more. So, I wouldn't want to be admonished by him, that's for sure, just by not being serious. And so like I really wanted to take that to heart and okay, how can we build a brand around that? And hence the name was born. The land capital side, that's more of just like marketing and SEO. I come from the venture capital industry prior to this where like every VC firm or private equity firm either has, capital or partners next to the name just because it's like part of the industry. The land capital was just more of a call out. Okay, yeah, we're a funding firm, but Sirius is the actual key part of the branding, and then the rest is just a little bit more for identification of what industry that we're in, but not necessarily like a distinguishing brand. So that is how I created the name there, and just felt like it'd be kind of fun to share that story again, especially like 2 years out, roughly a little bit more than that, since the idea started spinning around. And even though it is like, serious business, on the flip side, I think it's also ironic that the show was, partially a comedy, at least, in that you don't actually have to consider your brand to be like, or, spend crazy amounts of time thinking about, what your branding might be, or take it, quote unquote, too seriously. Like you can have fun with it. Like myself, I was just kind of, it was giving me a grin thinking about, all right, yeah, this is actually a good setup here. And I didn't like agonize for days over it. I thought about it for a few days. I slept on it, shared it with my partners at the time. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this all makes sense. Though I didn't share the story behind it. It just like the name made sense regardless for what the branding we were trying to do. And then just, went from there. So, branding can become really, really important in your naming. If you're like a multi-billion-dollar firm, but for the most part, like how you win over your customers and clients and all that is going to matter far more. And if you need to change your brand name, fine. But the power behind actual names is probably less than you might think. And so that's why like I just, as long as it seems good to me instinctually and the underlying values that I'm attributing to it. Okay, yeah, this is solid. I can grow this. I'm not going to spend crazy amounts of time because like that's not the hairy work that gets done. It's just okay. We got a name for something. Let's move on. Start actually doing the work here. And same with all like the various spinoffs. And it's like, okay, we started the podcast, get serious. Like, how can I throw in the main brand there? I didn't think about it for crazy long. Maybe a day, something like that. It's a newsletter, Serious News. Now it's like easier to just throw Serious into various different mediums for that. And you kind of still want like a punchy undertone. But that's just to give you an example of like how I might think about naming things that have been involved in other businesses too, where it's like, let your intuition guide you, as long as there's at least some sense behind it. Something that really like feels right and you can be proud of, on apparel, for instance, but, something that can also just bring a smile to your face. Like you're seeing, if you're watching the video version of this, you can hear it in my tone. Like I still get like the underlying humor on why I picked the name in the first place. So I can always smile from that. And it allows like a callback to one of my favorite shows and some of those scenes with Logan Roy. And also a reminder for me, like, okay, yeah, I need to live up to being a serious person. Overall, have fun with your branding. Life is not that serious. Again, ironically here. And just thought it would be fun to share this story. With all of that in mind, SeriousLand.capital for any of your funding needs. Land Daily Diligence Facebook group, 0 cost review for land deals, and landpricer.ai. Again, pretty simple branding right there. Spent a day or two thinking about it, gets the point across, move on, get the actual work done. Simple and accurate way to price land. Subscribe and share if you have not already, and talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.